to go and like see and get a percentage number of how many firearms instructors actually are going and taking training themselves to better themselves.
What are you going to base firearm instructors on? Certifications? Because, the most certifications out there is probably NRA. And NRA gives certs to a whole bunch of people that do things like teach Boy Scouts. So they're not interested in taking tactical classes or further classes. All they're doing is teaching their kids freaking Boy Scout.
I got a switch in my head. I go from living to dead. You got me seeing all red. Now I'm becoming a threat. I fucking heard what you said. I'll make you have some regrets. And no, I never forget. So now you have a few debts. That shit, it needs to be paid with blood or some sort of pain. You caused a permanent stain, which has determined your fate. I've never seen so clear. I feel the end and it's near. The day of reckoning's here. The sound of deafening fear. Oh.
All right, what's up, everybody? We're here with episode 4 of Locked, Cocked, and Unfiltered. I've got my wonderful hosts, Tony Simon, Clayton Slosser, or as Tony likes to say it,
Slot lickers.
Motherfuckers.
So, and just to let everybody know, you can find me at segunschool.com and Tactical Santa on all the social media stuff. Clayton, Tony, I'll let you go through and let them know how they can find y'all.
You can find me at the back booth at Waffle House. I'll be there. It's delicious and nutritious. I'll be taking them smothered. Just saying. Also, you can find me at diversityshoot.com. I'm at Simon Says Train on Instagram. And the second is for everyone on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook.
All right. Hi, Clayton. You can find me pivotal_defense on Instagram, pivotaldefensellc.com, or Pivotal Defense on Facebook. Or, locked in the back seat of a car in a parking lot at Cracker Barrel.
Hey, that was me. That was me. What are you talking about?
Was funny.
I know. That was funny.
I wish we'd have had a camera for everybody that was looking at us.
Shit was hilarious.
The entire diversity shoot would have been canceled because people would have been offended for you.
Right.
I know today we wanted to kind of talk about, I know we said like outdated training, but I don't necessarily know if I'd call it outdated. Maybe it's just, I guess it would be outdated even if we go like behind the times and stuff, because I know there's a lot of it that's still getting taught out there. And when y'all brought that up, I went in here and got to doing a little digging, and I was actually surprised at some of the stuff that I found. People talking about. What was funny is the first thing that came up is new to guns flabbergasted by poor training from old timers. So,
oh boy,
that was the first link that came up in the search, and it kind of got me thinking. Like, wait a minute, am I in the old timer category now? Like, once you get over 40, does that put you in the old timer category? I don't think I'm behind the times.
Well, it depends, because people love calling something old, and then they themselves fall for the same old crap remarketing. So it depends on what they're talking about, because right now everybody thinks they're cutting edge because they have a 2011, and I'm like, you mean 100 and freaking carry to 1 multiply by 214-year-old design? Just because it's a 9mm, which was developed in 1903, you have a design from 1911, actually 1910. It was adopted in 1911. I'm like, so what's an old timer? Because, are they teaching teacup, cup and saucer? Okay, that might be old time.
But it is funny if you look like.
This is how I shoot. Oh, wait. I shoot like this.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. But if you go back in and look at like some of your old TV shows and stuff, like, I'm really going to tell my age, like Chips, TJ Hooker, they were Weaver Stance, they were teacupping, but that is how it was taught. But as it's evolved, people have found ways to better that technique. But that's the thing is, why are, some people kind of stuck in those old ways of the weaver stance, the teacupping, and all that stuff. Because what tripped me out was when I got going through and reading some of the comments on here. That's where I really got tickled. Where's you'll love this one. I learned by watching YouTube videos. I hadn't fired a gun in at least 30 years when I bought mine in 2016. I was just like, good God, there ain't no telling what you've learned.
Oh, dear Lord.
But here's the best one. Let me go through here. Where was it at? This was my favorite one when I got to reading. I am a gunsmith and I am absolutely here for the newbies. So can somebody please tell me where becoming a gunsmith sets you up for teaching people how to use firearms? I mean, I get you can teach them how the gun works, but I mean
I don't understand how it's gunsmith specific. Like,
Right.
okay, cool. I'm a locksmith and I can teach people how to use guns, but I mean, it's not. Locksmithing has dick all to do with it.
But he's a gunsmith. Let's get this straight. So he must know everything about everything.
And it's funny because I had that conversation today in the private class I had because we were talking about that because there was, oh God, what was it he asked me? And I went and was looking it up on YouTube and, he's kind of looking at me. And I'm like, look, man, I said, I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I said, I'm going to be the first one to tell you, I don't know everything about every gun. I was like, there's no way with the amount of guns that are out there and all the new ones being developed, there's no way. I said, if you find a firearms instructor that's telling you they know everything about every gun, I'm like, you need to pack your shit and leave. They're full of it.
Find somebody else.
There's just no way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and there's no need to expect them to do it. How deep in this thing? Maybe the gunsmith guy knows how to break down every gun because he's a gunsmith. But I listen to special forces guys that don't know crap about firearms, and they're on the cutting edge. You know what I mean? They'll run whatever they've been issued, and they know that. But you give them a mechanic, and they're like, "What's that?" Or you give them just something that they don't run. Hey, here's a Hellcat. Well, you've been running Glocks and HKs.
Right.
You can figure it out, and I'm not saying it, but yeah.
I think it comes down to where, like we're talking about the old timers as the post said or research that Chris found. I think it's some of those guys that, like you said, they're stuck in their ways. They don't want to change, and it kind of goes back to what we talked about in episode 1 about vetting your instructors and being a student first. They're just people that they don't want to continue their training. They think they know everything at that point in time because they have XYZ certificate that says they can teach you this stuff. Well, that stuff's, like I said, outdated, and they're just not willing to go train themselves to be a student of this craft and, give the best that they can because, like everything else, everything evolves. Look at guns themselves. They've evolved over the years. Training has evolved over the years. That's just kind of my point of view.
You know what I would be curious about is if there was a way, and it'd be really hard to do with the amount of people or amount of instructors that are out there, if there's a way to go and see and get a percentage number of how many firearms instructors actually are going and taking training themselves to better themselves.
What are you going to base firearm instructors on? Certifications? Because, the most certifications out there is probably NRA. And NRA gives certs to a whole bunch of people that do things like teach Boy Scouts. So they're not interested in taking tactical classes or further classes. All they're doing is teaching their kids freaking Boy Scout den or troop or whatever you call it, how to shoot 22s.
No, I get that, but wouldn't you still want to take some, not necessarily like a defensive pistol program, or some type of, or like a handgun tool one like what I offer, but wouldn't you want to take, at least some, like a basic course here and there just to kind of stay up to date with what's going on? I mean, I don't know, maybe.
I'll say this, no, because that's not why they went to the course. They went because they just wanted to teach junior. And that was the requirement. You had to take that NRA instructor course, and then you had to take, you had to take rifle, right? If you're going to if you're going to teach kids to shoot 22 rifles, and that's the whole point of you taking it, you have to take the rifle course from the NRA, then you have to take the instructor course from the NRA, and then you have to take the rifle instructor course from the NRA. And after those 3 classes, and that depends on where you're at, $200 a class, you're done. Because all you're doing is teaching Jimmy until he turns 18, and then you're probably not doing it anymore. So that's how come the NRA has that many numbers of their instructor catalog, because it's full of guys like that.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily want to say go off certifications, because I mean, you've got some instructors that are out there that just have a knowledge and experience with firearms and don't necessarily have certifications. To me, it would really be looking at anybody claiming to be a firearms instructor, or maybe like firearms self-defense instructor. I don't know. It would be something that would be hard to do and track, but I would just be curious to even see what that percentage would be.
I wonder who we could get involved to kind of set something like that up. Because I mean, we could make a poll on Instagram or Facebook, but that ain't gonna tell us fucking dick all.
Yeah, because the dudes that don't get continuing training won't even answer.
Exactly.
I think the number. I mean, what? I don't think the number would be 50%.
Oh hell no!
Hell no!
I don't even think the number would be 5%.
Let's just see if there's anything average.
That I honestly, I don't even. I don't think it would be over 5%. And that's what's so scary right there.
Yeah, it is, because I mean, I take classes, obviously, and like last October, I took a class with ROC training here, and it was I think their Carbine 2 class. Now he had his instructors there, and they were like assistant instructors. One of them was taking the class. You know what I mean? One of them was in the class taking his rifle too, while they had another assistant instructor actually teaching the class. So like the second assistant instructor was there in case anything else needed to happen, getting stuff together or what. But he wasn't part of teaching. He was taking the class. He was right there shooting with us. But when it wasn't his rotation and he could help out, he did. I don't know if that counts or not, because you're still taking a class with your instructor, the guy you work with, but you're still pulling triggers and running the drills.
Because
what do you count that as?
When I first got into this, I didn't have any certifications. It was just experience from prior training, and then my military, the experience I had in the military. But it wasn't until I actually bought the business and took it full time that I actually went and got the NRA pistol instructor certification, because that's what SLED told me I had to have to be able to teach permit classes. But then once I got into it and got to digging around and doing more research and stuff, they actually, if you look at their website, it says any nationally recognized pistol instructor certification, which right now, from my understanding, is either NRA or USCCA.
Right.
So that was
before. Oh, go ahead, Chris. I'm going to cut you out.
No, you're good. You're good. Go ahead.
No, like even before I started the business and made the decision that this is what I wanted to do, I had, 2 years of training underneath my belt. Like I said, I'm not military, I'm not law enforcement, so I actually had some formal training before I made the decision to jump into this. Now, I still don't know everything, but that's what I did, because how many people we all get asked, well, what's it take to become an instructor? How easy is it? We've been asked those questions. Because everybody thinks they can just be like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to take this course and I'm good to go." I tell people all the time, I says, I've take training before you actually decide to jump into this.
Yeah, actually, I got asked that question today. So, what does it take to be an instructor? How do I do it? And also, because New Jersey got carry 2 years ago. So there's a bunch of people making a crap ton of money as instructors right now
Right.
because you have so many. You went from 1,500 concealed carry permits, period, in the entire state to 50,000 in 2 years.
Damn.
So
Damn,
there are people out there wanting to get it.
that's crazy.
Which you go, wow, that's a big number, but there's 1 million gun owners in the state registered.
Yeah.
It's like, what the rest of you doing, bro? Get busy. You need to be getting in classes and get a carry. And I encourage people to get a carry permit, even if they don't plan on carrying, because you never know what could happen in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm the same way, man.
Your child could get a stalker. Yeah, your child could have a stalker, and now all of a sudden you're picking your daughter up from work. You want to be able to carry if you have to keep her safe. You don't want to get pulled over. Now you're arrested in prison and can't take care of your family because you didn't bother getting that carry permit. I'm just saying.
No, and I mean, for somebody like me, it's because we've passed constitutional. You know, it's a little bit easier, but that's still in the state. Now, let's say, like where Chloe's at, she's in North Carolina at college. So, like situation you're talking about, she's got a stalker. I go up there, and now I need my permit. If I'm going to have my gun on me, I can have it in the vehicle, but I mean, what good is that going to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, now I'm hearing, from my understanding, I think North Carolina has passed constitutional carry. But
I think
I don't necessarily know. I've got to read more about it to see if it's set up like South Carolina, because see, South Carolina is one of the states where if you're in South Carolina for an hour a day, a month, or a year, you fall under that constitutional carry category. You know, where you got some states where you got to be a resident of that state to fall under the constitutional carry umbrella. So that's one thing I've got to look at. I have a feeling with North Carolina, it's probably going to be that situation like Georgia and Tennessee where you got to be a resident. So, but still, it still falls back to you need some type of training. I mean, especially, you know, like Clayton and I were talking about, you know, certain people showing up for an instructor course and have never even drawn from a holster. Don't even know how to mag change. And I'm like, you're showing up to a class where you're teaching defensive tactics. You're going to be an instructor to teach defensive tactics, but yet you have never drawn from a holster. And then I'm like, what are you carrying? How are you carrying your gun? Are you just shoving it in your pocket?
I want to see Chris draw from that holster you sent me the other day.
Dude, I'm telling you, they have, like, I figured it was a gimmick to get people to their website, because I went to look to see if they were actually selling it, and it's a little gimmick to, I mean, I thought the freaking video was hilarious. I was laughing my ass off. But honestly, man, I'm tempted to email them and be like, yo, what will y'all take for this? I need this thing in my life right now. Especially, oh, God, can you imagine me showing up to a Saturday train and learn and walking out there with that thing on?
I don't know. Because I got a Glock 34 that carry appendix.
I couldn't tell what kind of gun they were using in that thing. That would be the thing. Am I going to have a gun that's going to fit down in that holster? But you know, no, go ahead.
No, I was saying, going back to what you're saying though, but it's exactly what we were talking about. They don't drop from holsters. You can't do mag changes. And it kind of goes with what KD said. They're cheating the system by wearing their duty belt, war belt, whatever you want to call it. But that's the other thing. How many people are showing up and actually running their concealment gear? They're not.
So I put down for my handgun tool one inside or outside the waistband, totally up to you.
Right.
You know, it's not specifically a concealed carry class, but from what I'm starting to see is I have guys that will they'll come in and they kind of run both. They'll run a little bit inside the waistband concealed carry, and then they'll run some outside the waistband. And look, I don't even. No, I do. I carry my everyday carry when I do my concealed carry classes and stuff. But there's been a couple of times where I have ran my duty belt rig in that class, but that was just because I had my everyday carry sitting out for people to kind of come around and look at for some of the different options for concealed carry and stuff. But
and I'm not saying don't run that stuff, because you have to test your gear, but it's kind of a time and place deal. Like, I mean, I've ran mine, I've split it up between classes and stuff like that, but you have to test your gear, obviously. So
honestly, I think when we did that first medical gunfighter class in Atlanta, I think that was the first time I've actually had everybody in the class actually run from concealment.
Oh shit.
Yep. Because you ran from I think KD ran. I know Brandon did. I know Caitlin did. I can't remember if Danny did or not.
I'm not 100% sure. I think we all did.
No, I don't think she.
Danny did not.
She had to borrow. She had to borrow KD stuff.
Yep. She did not.
But I still go out. I still do some dry fire with my concealed carry. I still do some live fire with my concealed carry. It's not like I don't just not do it at all, because that's honestly that's what we do more of than walking around with the battle belt and stuff. Well, set up like that.
Right. And like I said, if you're throwing on a belt, you're throwing on a plate carrier, shit has gone really bad.
Well, see, that's the other thing is plate carriers. You got all these people that have plate carriers and don't really train with them, and then when they actually do and they go to shoulder their rifle, and it's like, wait a minute, this is not the same. It changes how you have to shoulder your rifle, and it's not the same as when you're not wearing a plate carrier. So that's what really gets me, are the ones that have the plate carriers that don't ever do anything with it, thinking, all right, I'm just going to throw it on when that time comes and I'll be just fine. And I'm like, no, it's different. You're not shouldering the same way as you would without it. It's something you need to understand and need to learn.
What about a tactical vest?
Oh God. Oh God. I just.
But
on the range by 10, fishing by noon.
Exactly.
So, I carry conceal, and I draw from concealment, and I shoot competition from concealment, only because they tested me, they vetted me where I shoot. All right, so I'm drawing from concealment all the time because the classes I take or instructors already know. They know my history. They know I can do this without putting a hole through my thigh. So, I mean, when I went to train and learn, only the first year did I draw from outside the waistband holster. Ever since then, I just drew from inside the waistband. I'm talking Dustin, friggin' Rob Pincus, Barber. What's his name?
Trayvon.
So, none of them had a problem for me drawing from concealment. And I'm grateful because I carry appendix, and that's the way I run the gun, and that's where I'm comfortable running the gun.
Right. The only way I'm not going to let somebody carry in a class is freaking all the way back there at like 5, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, because now you're sweeping people coming out.
Exactly.
Or chance are you sweeping people reholstering.
Yep.
So I'm like, and also I carry a full size. I mean, what some people call a full size gun. I carry a Glock 19, which is called a compact. But so I can train with it no problem. Some of these people get a little small sub compact carry guns, and it hurts to shoot, or it's not comfortable to shoot. It's not fun, and now you're in a 500 round count class, hating life. So yeah, you switch over to the bigger gun that you actually don't carry, and I'm like.
Oh, I've had people come up after, especially my 201 class where we're running about 500 rounds, and look at me and go, I really don't like this gun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not really stuck with it, but it's not like you can go and return it like a microwave. You know,
Right.
like, yeah, you can go and trade it, you know, depending on what you get. You might have to put a little bit of money with it. You can sell it and take that money and get something different. But that's my thing that I tell people. I'm like, look, if you're new, if you or have found narrowed it down to 3 guns that you're looking at possibly getting for your first gun, you need to go and run some rounds through that thing.
Right.
Because I know there's ranges around me that you can go and rent just about any one of your common carry guns, and I think they do 5 rounds for $10 or 10 rounds for $5. I can't remember what it is, and you can at least run some rounds through it to see what that's like. Yeah, now no, it's not the equivalent of going and running 300, 400, 500 rounds through it, but at least it gives you an idea. Usually within 5 to 10 shots, you should be able to tell whether you're going to like this thing or not. And, you know, a lot of times I can just pick up a gun and hold it and be like, oh, this thing, I don't know, just by the way it feels in my hand.
Mm-hmm.
The freaking Oracle Horns, whatever that thing is. I actually got my hands on one at Reshoot, and I'm tactically fondling it at the gun counter, and I'm like, I do not like the way this thing feels. It doesn't sit in my hand right. I don't like the angle of the pistol grip. I don't like the feel of it. I don't like the way it feels in my hand. Well, yesterday I got to finally shoot one, and I was like, man, I was right about everything. This thing it's just, to me, it's like, I do not like the way this thing feels. I'm trying to shoot it, and I'm not comfortable with it.
I'm just going to give you a Sky.
It's a Kel-Tec handgun, I think.
Sky?
Enough said.
No, not a Sky. I'll be honest, man. Skies are cheap, but I will say they don't feel that bad. You know, because I've had many of them show up in the class, in my permit classes, and I mean, I've held them trying to, you know, help people load them, you know, clear malfunctions, things like that. And I mean, I've felt way worse. You know, I can't remember what model Kel-Tec it is, but the grip just is, huh?
P3AT or PF9.
That might be.
Feels like it feels like somebody's high school freaking shot project, like their first year. The way your hand fits in it.
Yes. Yeah. It's like to me, a lot of the Canics, when I hold the Canic, I mean, it just, like, honestly, man, if I could like take my Canic grip and merge it into my Glock, like, to me, that would be like the ideal gun for me. You know, now some of the other people are probably going to be down in the comments and be like, that Glock sucks. Glock's blocky.
That's not. But I should get my training gun, but mine is the one I have is black, and you know, YouTube might see it as real instead of blaze orange.
Well, we're not live, so we can show real guns. You just can't do them. You can't show them on live. But another thing that I found, this is what tripped me out. All right, this is a defensive pistol course. All right, so I started reading through some of the criteria. This is where I stopped and was like, how are you teaching a defensive pistol course, but you're not allowing appendix carry?
Yep. Mm-hmm. A lot of the dudes do that. We're not allowing appendix carry.
Yep.
I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with the instructor, but I'm like, it's how I carry. I mean, they've been carrying appendix carriers since they put them in stashes. You know what I mean? They put their flintlock in stashes. They've been carrying appendix.
Yeah.
Yep. No appendix carry.
You shoot your dick off.
Holsters must be rigid enough to remain open when drawing and reholstering, which I guess they're talking about like double retention, stuff like that.
Well, no, they were talking about soft holsters like Uncle Mike's. Yeah. You have to open the holster up with one hand while holstering.
Okay, I got what you're saying there. Yep. Holsters must be worn on the student firing side outside the waistband. So not even appendix, you're not even going to let them carry any inside the waistband. But when you go on down, leather holsters must be rigid enough to remain open. Holsters should be worn outside the waistband, rigid kydex or plastic, until the student has demonstrated proficiency in the draw to carry inside the waistband. So if you're not allowing not allowing them to carry inside the waistband, how are they going to demonstrate proficiency to carry inside the waistband?
Wow.
So how is this a defensive pistol course?
Carry the gun like you don't carry the gun.
Right.
That's what they want me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I'm going to show up next time. I'm going to give me an outside the waistband appendix holster. I'm going to rock Katie's class with it next time. That's what I'm going to do.
Actually, I've done that. I've worn an outside the waistband holster appendix style because I'm like, this is how I carry, guys. Yeah. You're having me run this event, and this was a competition actually. I'm like, you're making me run this event by carrying it on my hip. I don't draw from my hip. I don't want to. How's this? I'm taking this class to be better at my defensive firearm than the method I carry. I don't want to carry in a method I don't carry to become better at something I don't do.
So let me ask you guys this: why do you think appendix carry gets such I don't want to say bad reputation, but why do you think everybody's so against that appendix carry? Other than, oh, you'll shoot your dick off.
That's it, man. That's it. You're pointing a loaded gun at your dick. That is it. Everybody's worried about shooting their dick off. I'm sorry.
Oh.
You don't hear women that carry appendix complaining about it.
Okay, I hate to explain this to you, Chris, but they don't have dicks.
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying.
I know it's controversial in 2025 to say that women don't have penises, but I'm just putting out there's zero fear of a woman shooting her dick off.
But I mean,
that's the thing.
I understand.
Every time that subject comes up in my classes and I talk about it, and look, Tony, my hat's off to you. I have tried to carry appendix, and until I get some more of my gut off of me, I just have not found anything that is comfortable enough for me to carry appendix. I would love to carry appendix because to me appendix is the most optimal position to carry because it's right there, whether if I got to get to it with my right or my left hand, depending on what's going on.
So I will tell you what, Chris, you carry what, the Hellcat every day?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've heard bigger the gun, appendix carry is more comfortable. I've heard that. Now, I can speak from my experience. Shut up, Chris. Shut the fuck up.
Tony, is that true?
Okay. I said I heard, okay, motherfuckers? Go ahead, Tony. Say it. Say it, Tony.
Say what, sir? Say what? I'm sorry.
You got something to say. You're over there stroking your fucking, let's just fucking come on, say it.
Tony's got a BBG to go with his BBC.
So I carry appendix. So I carry appendix with this every day.
No, but that's what I've heard. Now I have tried to carry the SIG 365 appendix. I don't particularly care for it. It's small. It kind of digs into my gut. I find that if I carry a larger gun, it is more comfortable. Is there, I don't know.
Is it length? Is it length?
But here's it. Here's what you can do.
I guess it's more about girth than it is.
I just want to.
Hey, what is this? What is this? What is this? Fuck are these? But
okay,
Chris, if you're gonna do it, Chris, you also have to you already have the core belt, which is great. But I find actually a good quality holster too makes the difference too.
So
but
that's
what I was just gonna ask, Tony. What are you running? What do you run? Because the fact the fact that somebody like you is carrying appendix, my hat goes off to you as well. That's because most people don't. So what is it?
So it's the Fat Tac holster. Fat Tac makes their holster for deep carry by big dudes. So when I holster, hold on a second, let me clear.
Oh, we gonna demo this? I gotta see this.
No, I'm not demoing it.
And I don't want to see your BBC.
All right, ladies, get the dollar bills ready.
Brown chicken, brown cow. So it holds deeper. So my belt runs here. So it's deeper than most. So when I do the draw, my master grip,
Laying on
my thumb is
yeah.
not. And then immediately upon breaking it out past my belt, I bring my thumb around.
Okay.
So
that's like the who does it? I can't remember. Was it somebody does the fat guy holster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that same guy, Josh from Black Diamond Guns and Gear.
That's it.
With JX Tactical, he designed the Fat Operator holster. They had a split, so he went and started Fat Tac, and actually ran into him at Goals last year. Told him I was still carrying his JX Tactical holster, and I wore it every day. And he was like, "Well, I started a new company, and this is the holster. I'd like you to check it out." He was like, "Actually, here's mine." So he gave me his holster. So this is his, and I've been carrying it since Goals. Clips on with these clips. DL, I can't think of the name of the company. So this is real tight. It works. It clips on my belt. I'm out the door, no problem. I don't have to adjust it. I don't have to play with it. And I wear my pants over my belly. I know some fat dudes wear it under their belly. I wear mine over my belly. So it's right there. And because of the way it's set up, it's pointing away from me because it's on my gut. So I am not muzzling my junk because my pistol was on top of my belly.
So you're not muzzling your BBC.
No, I'm not muzzling my BBC.
But I really do. I think that's the big thing with appendix carry is most guys are, especially when I talk about it with guys, that's what they talk about. They're well, I want to shoot my dick off. I'm like,
here's the thing, though.
Don't put your finger on the trigger before you get it out of your holster.
That comes back to
training.
Exactly. The people that are saying that are not trained. Now let's touch on this. If it's a instructor, if you will, that's saying that, they're not training themselves. In my perspective, I switched to appendix for that reason because I had people ask me about appendix carry. I explained in the last episode. Like I switched it because I was getting asked the questions. I had to talk about it. I had to understand it. I had to understand how to draw. I had to do all these things and learn it, so I could better provide the students with what they were asking and what they wanted to do. Where you have some of these old timers, if you will, they're too stuck in their fucking ways and don't want to go out and do that shit. And that's just it. To me, that's a problem. You're not expanding. You're learning yourself to better your students.
Exactly. And I have a problem with that too because, again, I'm not instructing all the time now. What I do is I bring people into the diversity shoots and introduce them to my instructors who are introducing the firearms. But I take classes and I try to stay on edge because people ask me questions and I want to be able to give them informed, modern answers. So, again, I cleared it. I have these sights from a company called Triclops. All right. It has these three here.
Those sights are
and my high vis sight in the front, and all it does is center up automatically. I mean, when
God,
you punch,
he pointed a gun at me.
Oh shit!
Yeah, exactly. So, you just punch sight on the target.
I got he's pointing a gun at me.
So that's what I do, but I'm aware that people want to know about red dots. So I have a couple of guns. Actually, one of the guys who want to help support me actually donated some red dots to me from Vortex.
Nice.
For CCW. So I got them here, and I'm going to get a firearm and put them on it because I want to actually have experience shooting with a red dot and tell people what it like. Because I like this much better because my stigmatism is not affected by it. It's pretty much using a high vis suppressor height sight and a unique rear sight. I like that better. It's faster. It's less expensive, and I haven't been able to knock this out of alignment or mess it up in almost 18 months that I've been using.
But you just brought something else up, Tony. is red dots. You know, or when I started having people ask me about red dots, I'm like, I don't teach red dots. I understand it to a degree, but I don't teach red dots. I'll recommend him, you know, KD's class when he comes up here. That's why I hosted KD with the red dot class. Or if someone asks me, somebody that wants to ask me, hey, well, how do I shoot long distance? I don't fucking know. I'm gonna send you to Jason. I'm gonna send you to Buck Doyle. I'm gonna send you somebody who does that shit daily.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people call me about long distance stuff, and I'm like,
what is long distance to that person? 300-400 yards? That's not long distance. You say long distance to me, I'm thinking you want to shoot shit at a mile.
Yeah, that's, you know, that is one thing I ask them. I'm like, well, what are you looking at long distance wise? And, you know, usually they're like, oh, 300-400 yards. I'm like, well, that ain't long distance. I'm like, shit,
I call that a Tuesday.
You can shoot that with an AR. I mean, I'm like, hell, I was qualifying at 500 yards with iron sights on a freaking M16. So, I mean, you know, I'm like you. When I think long distance, we're going past 500 yards.
Yep.
Yeah, we're taking things into effect like the rotation.
Whoa, hey,
whoa.
I thought this was going the wrong direction.
He said the wrong direction and he dropped his pants. What the fuck?
OnlyFans content. You got to tease him, dog.
Good thing pants on that one. We almost did see the BBC, ladies and gentlemen.
One, who says I'm wearing pants?
You know, like for me, I usually send, if people are talking long distance, I usually send them down to Sawmill because that's what's closest to me.
Right. But you get my point. You know, but it just comes down to you have to, yet again, be a student of this first. And when it comes to this outdated training or outdated, I don't want to say outdated instructors, but outdated training, they're just too damn stuck in their fucking ways and don't want to progress.
But now, I'm sorry, it is what you just said. It's outdated. It is outdated instructors because they're not wanting to train. They're not wanting to change, and they're not wanting to learn.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's almost like cell phones. I mean, look at some of your older people. They don't like cell phones, but unfortunately, that's where the times are at now.
Yeah, you're right.
Like getting my mom to go from a flip phone to a smartphone. I mean, she's having to learn everything all over again and stuff. But, you know, how to use it and everything. But it's one of those things where they don't. That's old. I'm not trying to beat up on older people, but they are not very fond of change.
No.
And unfortunately, when you're in this industry, you've got to be able to adapt to changes. Just like when South Carolina changed from having to, you know, need a permit to constitutional carry. You know, I had to change. I had to adapt my courses because I knew permit classes weren't going to be at the top of everybody's list. So I was already starting to create a constitutional carry class where you can come in and learn the laws.
Right.
You know, I'm not going to sit through and go through all this other BS that we have to in the full course, but at least come in and learn your laws and know what you can and can't do. Because everybody just automatically assumes because a crime's being committed, I can whip my gun out and fucking end a life. And that's not the case. You know, like when I talk...
You might want to do anyway. Yeah.
You know, when I talk about, you know, protecting property, I'm like, you can't use deadly force. For South Carolina, you can't use deadly force to protect property. You know, I tell people, I'm like, if there's nobody in the vehicle, it's not occupied, it's property. You can't shoot somebody because they're breaking into your car. Well, that's wrong. They're committing a crime. I'm like, they are committing a crime, but just because they're committing a crime doesn't mean you go and put them 6 feet under.
Yeah, it's a property crime, bro. One of the things, and again,
fuck you, Tony.
I don't like putting people down. All right, that are firearms trainers if they don't train people in red dot, if they don't train people in low light or to use a weapons mounted light in a handgun class. I get where you're coming from. I mean, people have been putting red dots on top of firearms for about 40 years now. Mostly it was competition before that. Even on handguns, they were running them back in the day with the Seymour sights in competition. Now it's becoming more regular. I don't think, I know for a fact that a majority of the people still use iron sights. I'm listening to somebody and they were like, oh, oh, everybody's switching to this. No, no, only people that are taking classes, usually tactical classes, have red dots on them, or dudes that are in that, in that style. The last I took a Pincus class. I took Rob Pincus's Fracco. I think it was like defensive hand. I don't know. Rob has long names for some of his classes, but it wasn't the big. It was the second class.
Intuitive shooting or something like that.
Something like I don't even know that.
Unorthodox shooting?
No. I have my book right here that I took notes in the class. Anyway, it was Rob's class. It was his second class. It wasn't his first one. And I ran my Glock 19 with the traditional sights on it, and then I ran my CZ75 with traditional sights on it. Every other dude in there not only had a drop leg holster on it, they had red dots and red dots and weapons mounted lights on their concealed carry class. Again, in drop leg holsters and all of that. I'm like, it's not even a concealed carry class at this point, fellas. But whatever. They shot what they were comfortable with, and us living in New Jersey at that time, there we go. Intuitive defensive shooting.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah. Intuitive defensive shooting. I took that class in 2021.
Yeah, because I hosted him here, and that was the class that he did. Yeah, but I mean, hell, I ran my Glock 19 for. I mean, it's only been within the last year or two that I put a red dot on it. I put a flashlight on it and stuff. I was just running a freaking Glock 19. Just the only thing I changed on it was the trigger spring. I mean, everybody was giving me so much shit about that. But I'm like, let's go out to the firing line and see who has the better shot here. Everybody wants to run their mouth till it's time to pull that trigger. But now I did.
Yep.
I would like to. I'm hoping next year I can kind of balance out my schedule and be able to do some competitions, because I would like to compete. And talking with Trayvon and Dustin and some of these other competition shooters, they're all like, if you're going to compete, you need to learn red dots. Like, if you're wanting to be competitive, depending on what they're like, like if you're doing a stock class, then no, you've got to do iron sights. But like, if you're wanting to run an open class and be competitive, you need to learn red dots. So I got a gun, put a red dot on it, and started learning red dots. And I mean, I do see the benefit of it, but even on my everyday carry gun, I still don't have a red dot on my Hellcat. Now I've switched over to the excess sights, which to me, if you're not ready for that red dot, but you want something equivalent to a red dot, I think the excess big dot sights are a very good way to go. And what you're running, Tony, I think is a good way to go. If you're kind of wanting something kind of in between your standard iron sights but you're not quite ready for that red dot, I think there are some really, really good options out there. But it also goes back to training. Just because you've put this stuff on your gun does not mean you will be a better shooter. This stuff is designed to make you a more efficient and more effective shooter, not better. I always tell people, buy the gun, learn the gun the way that it is. Then once you start to get proficient, now, okay, let's put a red dot on here. Let's put this. But now on the flip side to that, you run into people that have stigmatisms and things like that, or as they get older in age, iron sights are harder for them to see and line up and focus on. So I think people like that, yes, would benefit automatically going to a red dot and learning it. So I mean, it's you kind of have both ways, and I think it really depends on the person, depends on what you're looking to do. But even I tell people, like a lot of people, I'm just getting my permit because it makes buying a gun easier. I just mainly keep it in my home and in my vehicle. I'm like, you still need training, because what happens when it comes down to you actually using that in your home, or having to stop somebody from dragging you out of your vehicle, or heaven forbid you're at a gas station and you see somebody, being held at gunpoint or robbed at gunpoint, and now you need to get that gun out of your vehicle to protect somebody. What are you going to do? You're going to flip
You're
and
not.
fumble. And I'm sorry, it even happens with law enforcement because a lot of them, I shouldn't say a lot of them, talking to some of my buddies, I would say it's probably split down the middle. And it was crazy how one of my buddies explained it to me. He was like, you have cops and then you have police officers. And I looked at him and I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, your cops are the ones that are out there putting in the extra time, taking extra courses, taking extra training, wanting to, hang around and work with some of the detectives. And then he goes, your police officers are the ones that are there to do the bare minimum to get their paycheck and go home at the end of the day. And you can see it when you look at a lot of these police shooting videos. You can, I at least when I'm watching them, I can tell who does work and who just does the bare minimum.
One of the best things to watch is active self-protection. You go there and watch John.
Oh God,
and
yeah.
break down, especially when he do the law enforcement shootings. And they had one last week where a female law enforcement officer was working outside of her regular job. She's a training officer for something totally different. And they sent her on something with, ends up being a dude who's breaking into a house. And he approaches her and she allows him to get too close. She didn't use a command voice. He attacks her. She ended up drawing and shooting through her own hand because she allowed a lot of things to happen that shouldn't have been allowed to happen. But she swept her own hand and she's bringing the firearm up and just sent a round through it. And it's like, you need to spend more time not only in defensive tactics, but just awareness, muzzle awareness.
Mhm.
And you're not going to learn a new skill set under life-threatening conditions.
Nope.
If you don't know it, you ain't gonna learn it then. Your inside was it stress. Stress isn't gonna make you better at this. You're going to be worse.
Exactly. If you look at the studies, it shows you're in a violent situation, you revert back to your lowest form of training.
Yep.
And if you've never had training, guess what? There's nothing for your mind and your body to revert back to.
Absolutely.
If you're getting attacked by a career criminal, this is your first fight. This is not his first attack. So the only newbie there is you. And you're trying to figure out how to get your pistol out of the holster and understand something. When things go bad, they go bad in clusters. So now you're trying to draw your gun, but you got your shirt tail in your grip at the same time when you pull it up, and you don't have a good grip. And now you have a weak grip where it's just loose. And you get that first round off. Of course, you're going to pull low left, right? Because you haven't been practicing at all. But now because you have that compromised grip, you're going to have a freaking stovepipe. Now you got to clear your gun when somebody's coming and you've not practiced any of that. Or God forbid you're doing the stupid thing and carrying with one not in the chamber because you don't want to shoot your packer off or send a round down because you don't trust yourself. You're not going to learn yourself. So when you're talking to a bunch of instructors and we're like, a lot of the outdated methods of not operating under a stressor, of not having people practice not only drawing, but drawing from unconventional positions, like when you're sitting in your car, or if you're knocked to the ground because you didn't see it coming. How do you draw from your back? How do you put rounds on somebody from laying down? Because that's what we did in Rob's class. We laid down and shot the target. All that stuff is part of being a good defensive firearms instructor. And you got to go with what's new. You don't have to teach what's new like it's the Bible, but at least you have to be able to know what you're talking about when you're talking about it. You can't say, you're going to shoot your pecker off. That's why you should never carry appendix.
Right.
No, carry appendix yourself. Find out the pros and the cons. Or maybe it's just not for you and just don't bring it up. But most people aren't going to be honest and go, hey, I didn't like it and I never tried. I didn't try it too hard. They're going to go, no, it's horrible and you shouldn't do it.
You talked about not carrying around in the chamber.
I'm glad I was about to go there.
I'm sorry. If you're not carrying around in the chamber, it's because you're not comfortable and confident with your gun. and that means you need training. And I know some of y'all are probably sitting there listening to this like, God, all these motherfuckers talk about right now are training. And yes, it's a dead horse that I will probably continue to beat because a lot of people are not getting the training that they need.
Yep.
Like I've had people come in and like, oh, I carry a revolver. I'm like, hey, that's fine. If you carry what you want to carry, you do you. And they're like, well, I always leave one out of the cylinder, and that's what I leave right there. And I'm like, so you're carrying a revolver that only has 6 rounds, and now you're only giving yourself 5 rounds to be able to do what you need to do. I hope to God you're a good shot with those 5 rounds.
I carry a Derringer, so we're all good.
Hey, it was a 5 round, by God. But that's the other thing you got to think about. Mm-hmm. Oh, wait, somebody's running at me. I just fired all 5 shots. Now let me pull this pin out. Let me push my cylinder out. Mm-hmm. God, let me shake out my rounds. Let me put some rounds in here. Put this back in here. Push the pin in. And I'm like, do you really think the criminal's going to be like, damn, are you done? Are you ready for me to start running back at you?
The only person I would actually love to, will probably do carry a revolver, and could do it quickly, as we all know, Jerry Miculek. Let's just call that it is. He could load that real quick.
And I've actually fooled around with my revolver to try to. If you, yet again, it goes back to practice and training. Mm-hmm. If you sit there and watch how he does, because I watched a video where he explained how he does that reload. If you go through that reload and work at it, yes, it does make you faster.
It does.
It does make you a whole lot faster. And to me, the only ones that I've really seen that really need revolver, that I've seen that really needed a revolver, like I had, one lady come in and she had really bad arthritis in her hands. Mm-hmm. Like I tried every which way I could possibly try to help her be able to rack a semi-automatic, and she just could not do it. I'd even picked up one of those handy rackers.
What is Tony doing? If he comes back half naked, this show is over.
Oh, why do you guys keep thinking I'm going to get naked? At least half naked. I'm going to get fully naked. I have no idea what this half naked.
Also, the lights go down and Tony comes to stage.
Now, the other thing with that lady that I was working with, I really think now she could probably benefit from, because at the time, this is 3-4 years ago, so there wasn't the Smith & Wesson EZ9 or EZ380. I think she could benefit from that now. Because my mother, she's got a little bit of trim. Oh shit!
Oh, you motherfucker! Oh.
So the reason I have this is because of female client. Female client. Just look at that.
Oh. What is that one again?
It's just a regular 686 that I sent out to Patriot Gun Polishing. So that's probably going to be
okay. There, I was like, wait a minute. I've seen many 686s and they don't look that freaking good.
Yeah, this is the used 686 that was all scarred up.
Here you go again, boys.
Dang.
God damn it!
The slot liquor fee. The curse of the slot liquor. So I picked this up and running this right now. They got not these, but 38 versions of this on sale, used for like $4.5 at AIM surplus.
It's not bad.
Damn.
So my thing is, you can get one of those. What does this do? What does a double action revolver do? It gives you really good practice learning how to pull the trigger and break that trigger and not anticipate. And you become good at pulling the trigger on a double action revolver, it's going to make your skills better shooting a striker fire firearm. It's just going to make you better.
Yeah, because I think it's with the double action, it's like a 10-pound trigger press, something like that.
Well, this one has been worked on and is down.
I could tell by when you were pulling that trigger, like that ain't no damn 10-pound trigger press right there.
No, and the single action is like 2. this is had work done, so I don't even look at that as a stock. But as a stock gun, it makes you a better shooter because you have to pull that trigger without moving your front sight. And that's all it's about is having that trigger control, having a good grip, and all of that makes you. And I'm not talking just dry fire. Then when you actually put some freaking boom in it, wow, you're much better. You're not somehow you fix the sights and you're no longer hitting low left. Who knows?
That's I've never thought about that, man. That is a really, really good. That would be a really good training tool right there.
Yeah.
One thing I found, and I actually picked this up from Jerry, and I've started to incorporate it some already, is have them close their eyes. Not one.
Yeah, now we're talking. Go ahead.
But what he was saying is, he was like, most people have never truly felt a trigger press, and he's like, have them take a couple of shots with their eyes closed. Don't worry about where they're going to be hitting on the target. Just have them close their eyes and have them press that trigger so they can feel that trigger press. And what was crazy is I actually went out to after I got to watch the video, I was like, okay, I got to try this shit. So I go and get out to the range, and I'm like, holy shit! There is a difference there when you're not trying to aim and worry about hitting the target where you want to hit it and stuff. You're just focused on pressing that trigger, and it does kind of change the aspect of things. I think Clayton's the one getting undressed now.
Oh yeah, definitely got all excited when you started talking. Close your eyes. And a double action single, a double action single action semi-auto would do the same thing when the hammer fired. Same thing, but it's getting that long trigger pull and focusing and not having to change. And yeah, once you start taking some of the complications away, because we talked about it before, like one of the better long guns to teach somebody on is a pistol caliber carbine, like a 9mm with a suppressor. So you're taking away heavy recoil, you're taking away the concussive force, you're taking away a lot of the loud noise. All they have to do is pull the trigger straight back and make sure the sight's on. They don't have to, the recoil, the loud noise, especially their first time shooter. They don't have to contend with any of that. That's also why 22s are huge, introducing first time shooters to firearms. They don't have to deal with any concussive force, they don't have to deal with the kick. And you can teach them the basics, and you can also see where they're flinching, or maybe they won't even flinch because they don't have the loud noise and the recoil. Use whatever you have available, but there are things that people consider old school, like double action, single action revolvers and double action, single action semi-autos, which still be back. I mean, they come back, but none of it's really antiquated. I mean, sorry, but 10 years ago, everybody was talking about how the 1911 was antiquated. Now, again, double stack 1911s being sold by everybody. The only thing that outnumbers double stack 1911s are freaking Glock clones, Gen 3 Glock clones.
Right.
Yep. No, you're right about that. Yeah, because you got what? Springfield's got the Prodigy, of course. 2011. Staccato's got the Staccato.
Military Arms Corporation. This is what I was shooting yesterday, by the way. They had we had the Oracle Arms, whatever the heck you call that thing. We had that out. We had the Staccato out. We had what was the other one out? Staccato. We had the Prodigy, and we had the Military Armor Corporation double stack. And I shot all those back to back. And that's the new hotness. The only thing, I mean, we had a couple more that we could have had on the line, but you get the idea. No gun is really antiquated anymore. Don't listen. The industry picks a lane and then they just run with it until it's out of road. Until they run out of road, then they pick a new lane, and then they run with that until they out of road.
Was it the Oracle Arms 2311?
Yeah.
Is that what you shot? Yeah, I went.
So not like the way that feels.
Really? I mean, just looking at it, it actually looks like it would be kind of comfortable, but yeah, looks can be deceiving. Oh man, their website is hilarious.
Oh yeah, I haven't even been. I mean, I've
never heard of it, so that's why when you got to talking about it, I was like, let me go look this thing up. Yeah, I
Now,
mean it's a weird. Okay, now that I look at it from the side, I
uh,
think I see what you're talking about now. Yeah, this.
ew, because I tried the compact. I tactically fondled the compact. I saw him in shot. I saw him in shot show, and they were near. They were near a couple of different people that I, have a relationship with. So I never got over to them. I think they were right by Primary Arms. They're between Primary Arms and Global Ordnance and Lone Wolf. And I stopped at all those places, and I didn't stop at this. And I just didn't like the way they felt when I dry fired them in the store, because I had both the compact and the full size. And then I got to shoot, I think it was the full size last night. And just ill. It wasn't grippy where it should be grippy. It had those stupid finger grooves in it or whatever the heck. It just didn't feel right. But to be fair, and this is what he told me, he was like, "You don't like the P320, and this kind of feels like a P320."
Yeah, I see on here it talks about SIG P320 magazine compatibility.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, with that, I'm like, yeah, I just don't like anything about that's the
You
P320.
have you shot the Legion?
That's the only time the SIG P320 gets to be good is when you get up to the Legion and the X price tag.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. I mean, I don't mind the 320s. I mean, I've shot different versions with people that have brought them into class just because I've been curious. I mean, I didn't mind them too much.
Mhm.
They felt okay. But it looks like, but now that's probably why it's doesn't, yeah, because, yeah, P320 pattern magazine. So they're building that grip to be compatible with those 320 mags. So, yeah, if you're not liking the way the grip feels on a 320, then you're probably not going to like the way the grip feels on this.
And it's funny because I didn't go in with my 320 prejudice at the forefront because we talked about this on Gun and Gear Review podcast. We'd spoken about this, but I've forgotten about it. We talk about 4 new products every week for a year. I mean, for decades now. So I'm not going to remember every one of them. So I didn't remember this was built around it until last night when I was reminded. It was like, you probably don't like it because of that. And I'm like, you're probably right. I don't like the way SIG P320s feel until you get into the very high end price point of the X5, of the Legion, of the tungsten infused one. Then all right, they start to feel better. I don't know what they do to it, but it just feels better. Um, didn't like this. But this is the latest direction. I'm not going to call it a fad. Is the latest fashion in firearms. I love the fact that gun guys act like it's all the other industry guys. This is the new thing. Now I carried a 1911 for 2 years. I carried a 45 1911 in the Uncle Mike's holster. Everything I did was wrong. But most people have never carried a 1911. We're all steel gun, so they have no idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What it's like. Oh, and a horrible red belt from Walmart. Everything I did was wrong. So, and this was right after I got out of the military. So, you couldn't tell me nothing. And now I know a whole lot better. Would I carry an all steel 1911 now, with a good belt and a great holster? I'd probably do it, but I'd end up changing to something like an aluminum frame one, or maybe even just something different like that Smith, with the bobtail. What is it? Foreman Center Smith and Wesson, 4.5 inch 1911. I think it's got like titanium or one of the lighter weights.
Yeah,
I,
I'm not sure exactly which one. Like like for me, I've got the 1911 Max. I mean, it's kind of the old
Max
school.
Rochelle.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't
Shot
know.
one of those yesterday.
Yeah, I love that thing, man. I love that gun, but I'll be the first one to tell you I will never use that for a concealed carry. Because for me, I'm all about the round count. That's me. But now I love the gun. I mean, it's a great gun. I love shooting that thing. But no, I don't think I could ever bring myself to carry it.
See, we had that here. We got it in 40 because they were selling it for like $800 at the gun store. and that's a heck of a deal. Except,
Hmm.
it's in 40, and people are like, oh, it's in 40. I'm like, 40? A lot of you people that drool over yourself over 10 millimeter have never really checked the loadings on your 10 millimeter. They're loaded to what 40 is. They've downloaded your 10 mil to
Right.
40 Smith and Wesson freaking velocity. And if you don't believe me, go to Lucky Gunner and check out their page. Or even go to Lucky Gunner's video when they did use ballistic gel and velocity testing and stuff. And yeah, your 10 mil ain't 10 mil. Your 10 mil ain't the 10 mil that they freaking built a reputation up on of being a man stopper. Your 10 mil is 40 Smith and Wesson that you pay extra for.
Right.
You're just paying all that extra money for that much extra brass and the same performance.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's and I don't want anybody to think we're trying, like Tony was talking about earlier. We're not really trying to bash people here.
No.
We just want people to understand that to me, to be a good coach in this industry, you've got to be able to adapt with and look at some of these new techniques, because shoot, like I talked about toward the beginning, if you look back at some of your old shows and you look at how they were shooting in Chips and TJ Hooker, and I used to watch what was the one with the football, Fred Dreyer, Hunter.
Hunter, yeah.
I mean, what's funny about that show is that kind of came out after the Dirty Harry movies. And what's funny is when that show started, he was carrying a short barrel 44 Magnum. And then as the show evolved, he ended up moving, I want to say it was either a 1911, it's hard to tell. It looks like a 1911 or a Browning high power. It's hard to tell, but he moves into the semi-automatic, I think in the later seasons of that show. But it's one of those things where you can kind of see the progression in certain things with the consultants that they're using in these TV shows and stuff. Like I tell everybody, like to me, if you wanted, to me, right now, the best show out there where I think they did a really good job of getting the actors trained correctly as far as weapons manipulations and stuff is that with Chris Pratt. God, I just drew a blank.
Terminal List.
That's it.
Right.
Like that. I mean, the way their weapons manipulations was just phenomenal. Now they still have the Hollywood mags that can shoot 500 rounds before
Well, what about,
they have to mag change and stuff.
But that's the other thing too, is all the episodes and everything you watch on TV. It's everything. We do it all the time. It's like, yeah, that grip sucks. That grip sucks. It's.
Oh God, I know. Like you like.
It's painful sometimes.
Chicago PD and stuff and all this, like, because my daughter, she'll watch some of that stuff, and I'm just like, I walk in and I'm like, who are the consultants that they're using on this show? Like, it's,
right.
But yet again, let's look at some of this stuff. If we really look at your shows, to me, that have the best fundamentals and weapons manipulations, what have they done?
Right.
They've all gotten training. Look at freaking Keanu Reeves. Point proof right there.
Mm-hmm.
Look at all the work that he put in with Taryn Butler.
Yep.
Look at
according to Taryn, 8 hours a day, 5 days a week.
And that wouldn't surprise me, because I mean, that's one thing I do like about him as an actor, is he immerses himself in the roles that he's doing. Like I think he's like if I'm not mistaken, I think he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu too.
Yeah.
Like Tom Hardy. I didn't realize he's a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, because I watched a competition on flow grappling that he was in, and I was just like, damn. Like, I was really shocked. But it goes back to training. John and Berthenol. He's been out there with Taryn Butler. I'd be interested to see who Ben Affleck trained with for the accountant movies. You know,
Hey.
those were.
I helped him with that.
I mean, those were good movies. I thought, I didn't really see some of the stuff I've seen in some of your other TV shows and everything, but that's the thing. Even if you look at your Hollywood actors and even stuntmen, I went and helped out and RSO'd with, Carrie and Jack teaching, a bunch of stunt people with firearms and everything. Because that's stuff that they, even as doing stunts, they have to be able to manipulate guns and stuff like that. So, I mean, they're also going and taking training.
Oh, by the way, I fell down the Hunter rabbit hole, bro. You're a jerk off. Hunter carried a HK, was it HK 9?
Yeah.
Yeah, HK P9S. And he also carried a Desert Eagle at one time. Yo, what the heck is Clayton doing? Building the Great Wall of China? What are you doing, brother?
I'm still trying to get my damn camera to fucking work again. I don't know what the fuck is going on with this thing. It's pissing me off.
We still
Pour
got
water
you,
on
man.
it.
We just can't
Helps
see
a lot,
you.
bro. Yeah, pour water on it.
Right.
I might have
It
to.
fixes electronics. It fixes electronics. But Hollywood is stepping up a little bit, but some of the shows are still horrific. And way too many young men watch the shows and try to emulate what they see, and they try to run before they can crawl. And also, they don't know the why behind a bunch of and they don't know the why behind a bunch of stuff they're seeing and they're trying to emulate. That's why I don't believe you need to take training to learn to run a gun. But I believe taking training cuts down on the number of mistakes you make, bad habits you pick up, and time you waste. So yes, you can watch YouTube videos and do stuff, but you're not going to know if you're doing it right. You're not going to know if you picked something because you saw a bunch of people doing it because it was cool. Meanwhile, it's something you only do on this very narrow certain circumstances, and it's just you save a lot of time and get more education by taking a training class from a good instructor. You can learn it on your own. You don't need to go to a class. I don't believe that. But if you want to be good at this life-saving thing, I mean, I'm sure you can learn to do karate by watching Bruce Lee movies. But you get into a fight, you're gonna get your ass handed to you.
Well, it's like, doing the jiu-jitsu. I've watched videos on how to do certain moves and stuff. And then when I actually got in there doing it, it was like, okay, yeah, it helped me some, but until you actually get there and do that in some type of scenario or some type of training, you don't really know if what you've been learning is really going to be for you. And I agree with you, man. And yes, I totally believe you can get on YouTube, Instagram, any social media platform and be able to find out what those fundamentals are. But you're not going to get the feeling that you're going to get from a training class with just watching those videos. Like I had, it was a handgun 201 class. There was, I don't know, it was a small class, 4 or 5 people, and one of them was a husband-wife. And, I'm over there, I'm running one of the drills where it's one of those where we're starting out close and then we start backing up to create that space and everything. And, she's gotten a couple of steps back and her guns run empty. And what's the first thing she does? She stops. It's like, my gun's not working. I need to fix it. Let me stop. And I'm over there like, you got to keep moving. They're running at you. Keep moving. Mag change. Need to change your mag. They're coming at you. They're almost at you. They're on top of you. And, next thing I know, I look over and she's crying. And, I called a ceasefire and I was like, everybody take a break. I kept her at the firing line. I was like, so what's going on? She's like, I just got overwhelmed. This is a lot. I was like, exactly. I said, I wasn't doing that to be mean to you. I was doing that because that's what the adrenaline and the stress and the anxiety is going to be like when you actually have somebody running at you with a knife or shooting at you with a gun. And I was like,
it's going to be worse.
Right,
It's
right.
gonna
And
be worse.
I
Right.
wasn't gonna, I wasn't trying to, I
I
wasn't
know.
gonna try to beat her up anymore. But no, you're right. It would have been totally worse. She would have probably just fell on the ground and been like, all right, do whatever. But that's what I told her. I was like, this is why we talk about taking training, because I'm going to push your limits to make you understand and see what it's going to be like when something happens in real life. So now you've made this mistake, you've gotten upset about it, we've discussed it. I was like, go up there, get you some water, take you a little breather, come back on the firing line, and we're going to run this drill again. And I'll tell you what, after that and after that talk, she was fucking killing it the rest of that training class. And
Yep.
afterwards, she was like, she came over, she goes, I want you to know, I appreciate you not treating me any different from anybody else. I was like, I'm not going to do that. And I was like, the criminal's not going to treat you any different because you're, a 600 pound woman.
That's
And
why he
that
picked you.
was exactly. And that was one thing, even moving into the jujitsu. And that's one thing I like about where I go and what Roy does with the jujitsu is it's the men and the women are training together. And for me, that was a hard thing to adapt to because I didn't want to put all my, and I mean, I don't put all my pressure, but he's like, you need to let them feel pressure. He's like, don't hold back just because they're a woman, because do you think the 300-pound man that's trying to rape them is going to hold back? He's like, they need to feel some of that pressure so they can understand how to get out of that situation and get that top position or the choke or the arm bar or whatever it might be.
When you're coddling a student, regardless of gender, when you're coddling a student, you're not helping them out. You're not helping them. If you're training them in defense of anything, being soft on them, not being a prick, because that's totally different. But being soft on them and let them take the easy way out is not really helping them, because you're gonna have the worst day of your life if you have to use this thing. Understand? One of the podcasts I do, it was self-defense gun stories, and we did 4 stories every week about regular people use. Dude, it's not when you're on point that this happens. This is 6 o'clock Sunday morning when you're running out to the store in your own front yard. So you didn't even leave the house yet, and now you're in a gunfight. It was one where a guy was towing the truck. He went to tow a vehicle in Chicago, and he pulls up, and the guy tries to rob him and his truck at the tow in the snow, where it's like ankle deep. So you couldn't run, you couldn't move. If you got off the X, it was slow, and you got to fight from where you are with what you have. So not only, in my opinion, should you take training, you should shoot competition with your freaking carry guy. Don't worry about placing. This ain't a Disney movie. You ain't gonna win.
Right.
But if they allow you to carry your firearm, your carry gun like you do, carry it and shoot it under stressor of a timer and a whole bunch of strangers watching you. A whole bunch of strangers that all of a sudden you see how fast you can actually run a gun. And you realize, yeah, you're not shooting that fast. You're not going to shoot that fast in a training class. You're not going to have that many targets in the training class. I posted up video from my last competition that I shot, 3 weeks ago? And you see the difference between my run and my friend Stu's run. And you'd have to look at Stu and go, does that thing have a burst option on it, bro? What is that, a CZ Sport 2? It's like, yeah, dude, he put out, I think I ran my run in like 20 something seconds, or maybe, yeah, 30. I don't remember what it was, but you could measure with a calendar. And Stu ran his, I think, in 17 seconds, empty firearm. He had to load it, rack it, put out 10 rounds, and do a mag change and dump another 10 rounds. And he did it in like 17 seconds on 5 targets.
Damn. No, I agree with you
Yeah.
on that. I mean, and I tell people, to go and try an IDPA match. USPSA is good, but they don't really have I don't think they really have classes for concealed carry. That's one thing I do like about IDPA. You have to carry concealed in
Oh, and by the
those
way,
competitions.
you can do outlaw matches. You don't have to go to an official one. A lot of ranges have outlaw matches, which means they don't have all the official stuff. You can bring different guns that aren't covered by their official. but you can still run it. So yeah, I do IDPA. Matter of fact, one was tonight. We call it action indoor shooting. That's all. So it's IDPA, but not with all the rules and no classification and none of that is done. You just get to shoot those drills with your handgun. And by the way, where I shoot, it's $10 if you're not a member of the club. $10 to shoot.
I think you might have given me an idea.
There you go.
Uh-oh.
I think you might have given me an idea. I'm gonna have to sit down and put some of this on paper, but I think you might have given me an idea for something. So yeah, it's but even running IDPA or just a match at your local club or local range or whatever, it's essentially still training. Because it's going to let you see, it's putting you in a stressful situation to see how you're going to handle all that weapons manipulations in that stressful situation. Shot timers are going to put you in that stressful situation. Why do you think everybody in this industry calls a shots timer the stupid box? Because it will make you go stupid. I've had my stupid moments with them. They're a really great tool. Mantis has absolutely got some phenomenal stuff out there, and the amount of data that you get from those things. I've got the Blackbeard X. Clayton, I know you've got the Mantis X. I mean, the data that you get from this is just phenomenal. I mean, and they're not that expensive. So we're not saying go and take one training class a month. That's not what we're saying. There are other ways you can train and still become proficient and effective and confident with that firearm. And to me right now, I really think Mantis is one of the top ones on the market.
I agree.
Now I've seen them starting to incorporate the VR stuff now as well too, and that's crazy in itself to see that technology come into this industry. But even if it's going somewhere, and like I was watching one, they're out of Charlotte. Clayton and I were talking about them. I think it's AR Tactics or something like that. The majority of the stuff they do in their shoot house is all with simunition stuff, but it's still training. Mm-hmm. It might not be live fire, but you're learning the techniques.
Airsoft.
Airsoft is another. Yeah, airsoft is another.
Me and my old partner, I think if you go to my YouTube channel, what the frick is my YouTube channel? Simon Says Train. You'll see 12-year-old video of me espousing airsoft. This is before what's his name from Magpul video, Travis Haley. It was before Travis Haley put out his video, and I was talking about training with airsoft firearms. And of course, the industry wasn't ready for that because they weren't told by the famous people that you could use it. And I'm like, well, everything, because I had a USP from Umarex, that's who HK has build their 22s, Umarex. And they signed the contract. So everything was true on that humor. It was a HK USP clone. I could use the holsters. I could use everything. And I fired about 200 rounds a day because my job, I leave the prison and I was able to get home in 7 minutes and I need to decompress. So I would go to the basement where I had my range set up and I would fire about 200 rounds, drawing from concealment, draw from my holster, and I would shoot a playing card at 21 feet and see how many rounds I could put on the playing card and how quickly I could do it. And I'd run about 200 rounds a day through that. And it had that long trigger pull, which again helped me shoot my regular firearms better. But think about that. For I think $65 at the time, you could buy that at Home Depot. It uses CO2 cartridges that were really inexpensive, and the bag of airsoft BBs were like $15,000 for $16.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't realize you weren't done. My bad.
No, I mean, I just got to do thousands of trigger pulls for less, again, including the gun. Everything was maybe $100. And then after you purchase the gun, it was $15 for a bag of BBs and the CO2 cartridges. I mean, you might have spent $25 and you shoot for freaking 3-4 months. And that just gets you all that sight alignment, sight picture, trigger squeeze. You can even do your follow through with it. everything but the loud noise and the recoil, and you got to operate that gun. And what I did was had pizza boxes set up, I had cardboard boxes set up, and I put towels in them. So when you hit it, the box itself is taped, but when you hit it, the BB stays inside. So I'm not sweeping up my entire basement with all these little BBs, and then I just throw everything away. And no, I didn't reuse the BBs. Don't be that cheap. Just throw the BBs out because they deform and they can jam in your barrel. But it gives you, and if you look at evike.com and other companies, they make quality airsoft that look like your carry gun, dude. A friend of mine had a P226 gas blowback. You don't even have to get the gas blowback ones where the slide moves because that's more expensive. But if you want to get it, get it. So you can even do malfunction drills if you want to, but you can use a malfunction drill in anything. But I'm going running from drawing for your holster, punching out, pulling the trigger, and hitting the target within household distances. It's not going to curve to the side or drop. It's
Right.
going to be fine inside your home. These are great. And then if you want to get stupid with you and your boys, you can play real life and shoot at each other in there and see how it is when people search their house and see how it don't turn out like the way you do if your boy lights you up with it because you didn't see him stooping below the freaking table. I don't think searching your house is a good thing unless you don't have all your family in the room with you. You can leave your family in the room with you, stay and make them come through the fatal funnel, make them look for you. But I feel airsoft is great, and if you use imagination, airsoft can be a really good training tool. It's very important when we're talking about training because we started this off talking about old trainers and outdated training, incorporating other things into it, including using airsoft and the Mantic system. You know what I mean? You can incorporate that because that's what they do at the booths. When you see them at NRA this year, they're going to have airsoft guns and you can shoot it and they'll tell you where you're shooting and how you're shooting. You can pick all of that up from these training things and you never went to a live outdoor range or indoor range.
Well,
You
it
can pick all
was,
those skills up.
what was it, T-Rex Arms or somebody had brought like the top.
The Asian dude?
Yeah, that was like
Yep.
the top airsoft competition person and brought it because, because it was either China or Japan or somewhere.
Japan. It's
Yeah, was
Japan.
it Japan? So over there they can't own guns, so they use airsoft, and he was like the top airsoft competitor, and he flew them over here to the United States and took them out to the range, and that correlated over very well to live ammunition. I mean, the way that dude was manipulating the guns was, you would thought he had been shooting real guns all his life, and all he's been doing is airsoft. So,
Yep.
yes, there are tons of options to reinforce the training that you need to go and take or have gone and taken. And that's the other thing. Don't take a training class and then the next time you pick up your handgun is the next class you sign up for a year later. All right. That's the purpose of the training, is to find out what you're doing wrong and then be able to practice from there. So I know, like I said, from the beginning, Tony said it, and I've reinforced it. We're not trying to beat anybody up. We just want everybody to get good quality training. And sometimes that does take vetting your instructors and seeing if they're taking training themselves or doing anything themselves, if they're teaching a true self-defense class. So there are plenty of options out there. Take advantage of them. I'm available. Tony's available. Clayton's available if you have questions, and please feel free to reach out with any questions, even if we're not in your state. If you have questions, I'm always available to answer questions. I have no problem with that. Now, I might not respond to you right away because I get a lot of messages from Facebook, from YouTube, from Instagram.
OnlyFans.
That's a different type of training. But if I don't respond to you right away, just give me time. I will get back to you and I will help you with your questions. And if it's a question that I don't know the answer to, myself and any one of us here have a plethora of people that we can reach out to in this industry and be able to find that answer for you. So I know y'all are sitting around thinking that we've beaten this training horse to death, and I know we have, we've talked about it a lot, and there's going to be more. I hate to say it. In some of our upcoming episodes, there's going to be more, especially with some of the guests that we've got lined up. It's going to let you see, especially one of the guests we're going to have coming up pretty soon. This is somebody that's been involved in 2 self-defense situations where he had to use his firearm, and being able to understand how much training helped him. So we're just trying to help y'all understand to invest in yourself, and it goes back to something I heard a while back from a motivational speaker, and it was more kind of around finance, but to me it also correlates over to this: is what's your life worth? My life worth it's worth way more than what the $250-300 I'm going to pay for a Kevin Dixie class, or the $600-700 I might pay for a Travis Haley class. All right, my family's life is worth way more than that. We've all got options. If you can't afford that lump sum, I know I've got options. I'm pretty sure Clayton and Tony have options to where you can make payments. So we've got options out there to help you out. I've even got small classes that aren't that expensive if you can't afford or make an all-day class. Come in, and that's what I've got those designed for, to incorporate stuff you're going to eventually learn if you went through and took an all-day class. So please, 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 folks, go and get some training. Don't be scared to go out on that range. If you want private training, we do private training. All of us do. But don't be afraid to go out in that group class, because you're really going to be shocked, because it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. It's going to be in your average, everyday concealed carry person. It's not going to be your tactical operators or law enforcement. There might be some mingled in there somewhere, but the vast majority are going to be out there wanting to do the same thing you're wanting to do, and it's let's get more proficient, more confident with your gun. So I hope everybody has enjoyed this episode. Please, check us out. Again, I'm SouthCarolinaGunschool.com, or I'm sorry, SCGunschool.com, Tactical Santa on all the social media. Clayton, Tony, I'll let y'all go through y'all stuff again before we end this out.
Yep, I'm at Instagram at pivotal_defense, and then Pivotal Defense on Facebook, and then PivotalDefenseLLC.com.
I'm at Second for Everyone on X. I'm on the Second is for Everyone on Facebook. And I'm at Simon Says Train on Instagram. Also, you can catch us. Oh, one thing I want to tell you about. If you live in New Jersey and you have a suppressor that you keep outside of the state, the NRAILA is looking for you, because we're going to sue the state of New Jersey. And we're trying to make suppressors legal again. And we need you for the lawsuit. So contact me, Tony Simon, at Tony@diversityshoot.com, or Simon Says Training at Yahoo. Contact me. I'll get you in contact with the NRAILA, who's actually doing this lawsuit, because we're trying to make suppressors legal here. Now, how do you own a suppressor if you live in Jersey? Because people move from other states with stuff, bro. That's how. If you had a suppressor in the state you live in and you currently have to store it outside of the state, but you moved to New Jersey, we're looking for you to get in on this lawsuit. All right. So that's what we're doing. I really appreciate it. And if you can just get the word out, even if you're watching this show, just get the word out, because there's a lot of people that live in free states that have family that lives here, and you're holding their suppressor because they're living in this communist ass state. So let them know they can get in on a lawsuit and actually make history.
Yes, get it definitely, because I definitely commend Tony for that, because I can't tell you how many times I've heard people say to him, "Why do you still live there?" And he's like, "Well, I don't want to be the one to run from the fight."
It's fight to fight, bro. Just
exactly. So definitely, if you know anybody, if you're listening, like you said, if you're listening, you know anybody, or you're holding somebody's, or you've got one out of state, reach out to him and get in on that, because he's one of few that are still in a lot of these states that are trying to fight the good fight and make these states better. So get out there and help him out. I hope everybody's enjoyed the episode. I've enjoyed it. I know Tony and Clayton have. This was, I think, a great conversation.
That's my shitty camera again.
We'll get that fixed. Don't worry about that. But yeah, look at some of the upcoming episodes because we've got some really good guests and some really good topics lined up. So I hope everybody has a good night. Stay safe.
Can I take my pants off now?
Yeah, we're about done. You can take your pants off.
All right.
All right, cool. That's a good
All right, folks. Y'all have a good night. Stay safe. Continue to carry. Get some training. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Trouble,